Hello there, I'm Martin Cross, World Rowing's TV commentator. I feel incredibly privileged to be with these six men here. I'm going to introduce them to you and we're going to have a chat about their careers and just why they're here today. So Ondrej Synek from the Czech Republic, the Czech sculler, 5 times world champion, twice Olympic silver medalist, Olympic bronze medalist, probably the best sculler just to have missed out on an Olympic gold medal. Mahe Drysdale, twice Olympic champion and Olympic bronze medalist, 8 times world medalist, 5 of them gold, 6 times Henley winner. Olaf Tufte from Norway, Mahe from New Zealand, Olaf Tufte from Norway, 7 times Olympian, twice Olympic champion in the single, silver and bronze medal in the double sculls, and recipient of the Thomas Keller medal, which is rowing's highest honour. Iztok Cop, 6 times Olympian, 15 world and Olympic medals. He's won the gold medal in the double sculls in Sydney. He's also the recipient of the Thomas Keller medal, rowing's highest award. Lassi Karonen from Sweden, 11 years at the top of his sport, twice in the Olympic A final. And Alan Campbell, he has been in 4 Olympics, yeah. 3 times world and Olympic medalist, Olympic bronze in London, 3 times Diamond Sculls, Henley winner. What palmares from these guys. Ondrej, I'm going to first come to you. What does it mean to you to have all of your friends, your racing partners here to honour you today?
Yeah, it's a special moment for me and I think for all of us because we retired, someone longer, someone shorter time, and I'm happy that we could meet here together and then compete, and yeah.
Olaf, what does it mean, the relationship between you guys? Because you've been racing each other for so long, you've been friends together for so long. Tell me how that came about.
Well, the whole thing here is like we are such a good friends, and I think that's kind of special compared to we are actually being the single scullers. Back in the days when I entered the single sculler arena, Iztok was probably my biggest rival together with Václav, and we didn't talk too much because we were single scullers and we were like just looking. But Iztok and me started to having fun on the course, off the course, and people just looking like, what's going on? Like, they're becoming friends. And ever since that moment in 2001, I think all the single scullers just ended up being good friends. We travel together, we train together, we actually go vacation to each other. And for me, that's the best thing about this sport is like we are so good friends, but on the water, we really want to beat our best friends down the line, and then we have a good laugh afterwards. So for me, this is my family. It's I always feel so great around all these guys.
Mahe, you've been to Olaf's farm in Norway. How many of you guys have been to Norway with Olaf?
I'm not brave enough. I know I'll suffer if I go.
What did he have you do out there?
I can't remember how many jobs I've done, but let's just say that it's not a free holiday. You have to earn your keep. He's had us in the forest with Emma and Nathan Cohen cutting trees, and he would cut the logs up and we'd have to drag them out. And I think he made them just a little bit too long for us to drag them out comfortably. Last time I was in Norway, I was with Olaf's son, and we had a hammer and we had to knock all the plaster and the mortar off bricks so he could build a nice brick wall. So I'm looking forward to going back and seeing that brick wall. Let's just say, there's no free holiday, and you certainly work. So I'm actually going up there tomorrow, and I'm sure he's got a few jobs lined up, but he's been waiting to finish off.
Fantastic. Just going to this side, Alan, the 6 of you have been together in the Great 8. How did that project come about, and how was it to row with these guys?
So my club, Target Scullers, representing today, it was originally born out of like the top single scullers within the UK. They raced together in sweep, but then they obviously sculled for their individual clubs. And so Bill Barry, who was my coach, and he was an Olympic medalist from 1964. He was one of the top scullers, but he sculled for Quinton, but then he sweep rowed for Target Scullers. And the idea is that top scullers are better than the top sweepers, or so we like to think anyway. And so it was that thing of, can we get together, the great eight, the best scullers in the world, put them in a boat and see how they're racing. We had a lot of fun doing it. And it's one of those things that you have a lot of egos, like egos to fill a warehouse,
Who's got the biggest ego here, Alan?
Olaf. But this is the thing, is like it's infectious to be around, because you learn so much when you're with these guys in terms of not just how to be a good athlete, but how to live a life properly as well. And it's like, that's the thing, is that I think the single is one of those things of you're accessible to all of the other teams. Everyone wants to come and talk to you because it's less intimidating than going talking to one person in an eight, for example. It feels like it's not that way, but being part of this is brilliant.
Who were you in the stroke of that eight, Iztok, and who decided to put you in the stroke seat with all these big egos around?
Oh, I don't know. I think that was the Bill's idea. So
That was your idea.
but we know that the biggest ego can stroke, so that's why. No, but what I would add to that, for me, it was, I think you saw our first outing, when you saw our first start, you just left it. These guys had no chance. And I still say, when I do some speeches, like 8, let's say, strongest person in the rowing world, put them in the boat. We moved the river, but we didn't move the boat, So then I think Mahe suggested, let's just go easy. And what I liked in the boat, that I was just focusing, trying to do my best, because I was so confident that everybody's doing their best, the best we can. Probably we could do even more, but that's it. That you can focus just on your job, and that was that was the great thing about this boat, And actually, every session, or I could say every couple of minutes, I could feel the difference, that the boat is moving better and better. And in the race, even if it doesn't go that well, it's just losing is never an option. So that was, I think, great experience. First at the Eights Head in London, and then at the head of the Charles, with all the trouble we've been through. That race was really one of the best performances we have, I think.
Lassi, I'm going to come to you. 11 years at the top, those 2 Olympic finals. What are your memories of racing in the single?
Well, of course, the final in London was a big experience and a huge memory for me. And I just have to say that coming from a small federation, being in single, I didn't have many people around me coming to competitions. So that's why this friendship was so important to me, to have my friends and brothers alongside that I didn't have from my country or fellow country rowers. So that's the thing I'm really remembering from this friendship.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask you guys, and you can just pitch in, your favourite race in the single scull. What was it and why?
Lens.
Where I got cheated, I think they stole my 4th place to Olaf, or was 5th, I don't know. But
I think actually you were commentating that race, and we were battling out about 4th place. And you forget about the medals. This race is all about the 4th place between Iztok and Olaf, and it was like 1/100th of a second.
And never more than 1/10 of a second gap between us during the race, I think. And we were like 5 seconds behind the first 3 guys, but that was not important what's going on in front. So
I remember your first gold medal in single sculls in '95 in Tampere. That must have been a special feeling for Slovenian national honour as well, with the flag you were carrying at the finish.
Yes, it was. It was actually also the first World Championship title in Olympic event for my, let's say, 4-year-old country at the time. So it was a big thing, and I'm proud of that race also. And I didn't believe before that race that I can actually win the world title. And still, when I look back now, I think the year before, my first year in single scull, would be much easier to win if I would just believe that I can do this. But the next year it was too tight, so it was no no chance just to go for a medal. It was either all or nothing, and at the end it turned out really okay. And I think that was, all of us, we had a good race at that time.
Mahe, so many memories. Which ones stand out for you?
Yeah, there is so many memories. I think for me personally, London, that was sort of the big one for me to finally get that sort of Beijing monkey off my back and finally achieve that dream. And it was a hell of a race with Ondrej. So I think that was definitely a standout. But I think coming together and that friendship has been something that I've cherished. And my career started in the single. I was in the 4. I didn't meet anyone because you have 4 guys around you. That you're a part of a team, and you don't need to meet anyone else because you've got that group. And then that was in Athens, and just complete chance encounter, I guess, meeting Alan in the pub. Afterwards, and I said, look, I'm coming to the UK, and he said, well, come train with me. Here's my number, and so I show up in the UK at end of 2004. So I want to be a world champion single sculler. I fell in the Thames twice in the first 3 weeks, and I think Bill and Alan were kind of like, who is this guy? And he's freaking dreaming, and then went on and won that world title that first year in 2005, and race these guys, and that was pretty special. So and then the friendships just developed from there. So I think those friendships and racing together is fantastic, and just thank Ondrej for having us all here, because I think this last 2 years has been kind of strange through COVID. Obviously Olaf made it to the Olympics, but there's no spectators. You don't have these opportunities. So it's really nice we're sort of through that now, and we can all come together and kind of celebrate, obviously Ondrej's career, but, sort of think about everything we've achieved, on the water alone and also together as a group, and, just sort of build those friendships. So, no, it's really special, and, looking forward to trying to put on a show out there. Don't think the quality will be great, but...
Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. I just wonder about Ondrej, any special race that stands out for you?
Oh, I will be shorter than Mahe. I remember almost all final A's, so, but there was one special when we raced neck by neck with Mahe Hollandbeker. I don't know your year, but the biggest gap during the whole course was, I think, maximum 1.5 meters. So
I think maybe 2:11 or something.
Yeah, 2:11, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was nice, and that was special.
And how about you guys? Greatest race, best memories?
I mean, it was again those A finals, and just sort of being part, actually just being part of those finals and part of those amazing races. I was disappointed that, like with Rio, that I wasn't able to race it out. I got ill there, but to have even just have been in that final where it was Damir and Mahe, it comes down to the tightest of margins. But the thing is, I'm a massive fan of rowing, so I love all those. Maybe one of the ones that sort of really sort of stands out is Henley Royal Regatta, and I raced Olaf in the semi-final, and I had to come from behind to do that. And I was like, I beat the Olympic champion in 2009. This was. And then I see Mahe, the world champion, in the next race, and he absolutely pulls my pants down. So yeah, it was like those were to be part of that, and just to be able to sort of stand amongst some of the best athletes, not just in rowing but in the world, was incredibly special.
Have you guys got any special stories that might not have been heard about how you got on with each other, about competition?
When is the final start?
Should not be heard.
Well, I don't know if last night we all got we're all now master beer pourers, or
School of Tapping.
That's it. We went to the school of tapping to tap our own beers last night. We all got certificates. I need to update my LinkedIn to do, obviously, and everything else. But I don't know if Prague will be ready for what's about to happen tonight.
Well, so you're not just going out tonight, you're going out last night, you're going out tonight as well?
Yeah, of course. It was Martin. We got a party.
So tell us, what sort of shape are you in for this race today? I didn't see any of you out on the course this morning, is that right?
I think we are happy that we are, all of us, we are in the final A.
How has it been? I know you've been at the top of your sport for so long, you guys. How has retirement been for you? I know in one sense, Olaf, you've still not retired. You're still in your regular training program. At least that's what the guy's saying. But how have you taken to retirement? How have you coped with it?
I haven't coped. I quit rowing because my family disturbs me to give back home. But I never wanted to actually go out from the rowing. So I planned the way how I can fill my brain with other stuff. So I just managing a lot of stuff instead of start thinking of I should have been on training camp and stuff like that. So I occupied my time, and yeah, that's how the days goes on. 16 hours of work.
Mahe, how about you?
I've loved it. I think it was, the day I walked away from rowing was kind of, the day that it ended for me. And, it was literally, one day I was a rower, the next day I wasn't. And I was absolutely good with it. Probably the hardest moment about my whole retirement was facing the New Zealand team and just letting them know that I was not going any further. They've been a big part of my life, throughout my career and helped me and supported me. But I was very emotional in that, and I walked out of the building and Juliet said to me, are you okay? And I was like, I'm great. That's the end of it for me. And it was a very easy transition just to step away, knowing that I'd given my life to what I loved. I've got all these friendships; they will never go away. But that was one part of my life, and really excited about moving on to the next. And as Olaf said, being there for my family and just having a new chapter. It's very exciting to be able to go and focus on something else.
Yeah, and I guess, Ondrej, it was tough for you because you had COVID.
Yeah, I had COVID, and then before the Olympics in Tokyo, I was burned out. So it was not possible to sit in the boat for me, and it was so difficult. And that I decided 2 months before the Tokyo to not go there, and then I was free, so and fresh. So and it was 1.5 years ago, but I'm still involved in rowing as a team manager of Czech rowing.
Yeah, and how about you guys? How has retirement been for you, Iztok?
Well, I think okay. I was more fortunate than Ondrej, so I planned London, my last race, that's it, and I was focused after the finish line. I said, okay, that's it. So I was a little bit, kind of relieved. But on the other hand, I stopped what I was doing for 28 years, something that I was fully into it. So I think probably my family would be more competent to tell what was going on, but you have to find another track. I was prepared, but I was still kind of searching myself. I think you got all the time on the world, you got disorganized, but at the end I still ended up in rowing. I work for Philippi, and so I think it turned out okay. And I don't miss racing, I must say. I don't miss that pre-start stress, I still like that feeling when you're really good, but otherwise. Now, thanks to Ondrej, I went back in boat after a couple of years, and I enjoyed it. I think finally I switched from that racing mode to my age exception of rowing. So it's like you're 50, you're not as fit anymore as you were when you were 30. So
let's see in 3 hours.
I know when it starts.
I wanted to ask you sure about it.
I think the thing is that I missed the most was to get pumped by adrenaline and endorphins from training and competing. So the struggle was to find something else to fill that void of having adrenaline.
And what's filled it for you, Lassi?
I think I started to do something else. I needed to do something else because when I tried to train rowing, I still had the mind of those times and those speeds that I used to have, and that was too hard. So I started a bit more to go cross-country skiing to find other goals and to get endorphins from that instead.
Alan, I want to go forward to this race that's happening this afternoon. You were always having your bows in front at 500 metres, and you know there are some people saying that Alan Campbell, you know, if he's in shape, maybe he's going to be the one to take the win today. What's your tactics and how are you going to play it?
Well, I mean, the tactic is shut my eyes and just go as hard as I can and see where I end up. It's like, and this is my mode of contention. This is my mode of contention. It's like you wait for me to be sat behind a desk for 6 years before inviting me to do a 500 metre race. I'd have given anything to do 500 metre racing back in the day. But no, I think it was. For 4 years afterwards, I still had the power to be able to do like 1 or 2 good sessions, or to be able to sort of athletically do it. The last 2 years of the power has just left me in terms of like the strength, that sort of residual sort of thing. But like Iztok was saying, getting back in the boat, it's the first time I've actually been back in the boat the last 3 months, taking strokes in anger, I suppose, since Rio. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really, really good. It's a great sport. I've actually been rowing up with Henley Rowing Club, in Henley, and going up with like their Learn to Row group, rowing with some of the juniors in the morning. It's really enjoyable.
Now, when you heard about this race, who decided they were going to get in the single and do a bit of practice, and who thought, no, I'm going to leave it till I get to the Czech Republic?
I planned to get in the boat. And then I got to last week and I was like, I really should get in the boat now. So I think I've had 4 rows. It was not quite how I planned it, but we're here to have some fun and see if I can get up the slide.
And Olaf, people have been sort of complaining that you're in full-time training still and got an advantage in this 500 metre race.
I'm not full-time training, no worries. But I do train, I do.
900 hours a year, so that's half time.
He's doing 3 sessions a day, not his usual 5.
I still enjoy training a lot, and I do cope it quite okay. But the last couple of months have been really busy, so I'm not in that good shape, but I think I'll manage.
Olaf, good shape.
And Ondrej, you had flexibility in any part of the race. You could lead out of 500, you could sprint through at the finish. How are you feeling about this race?
I have to say that last 1.5 years I did nothing, completely nothing, and the biggest sport was the 6K on the bike when I measured a running test for the team. But in last 2 weeks I had maybe 8 rowing sessions. And one of that I decided to go 2 times 5 minutes in 22 rate, and after first minute I said no. So that's it.
Yeah, so I'm interested, you guys watching the current sculling scene here, what do you make of the finalists at the World Championships? Race coming down this afternoon. What have you made of the rivalry and competition between the scullers since you've retired? Anyone
watching closely? I watched a few of the races. It's going to be interesting. I think there's a few of the guys there. It's really, they row sharp and they definitely got the engine to go all the way. So it's going to be interesting to see who's actually dare to go after 1,000 meters and can last the whole way out. Because I think someone's got to do something in the middle part. Otherwise, they're too far behind.
I think, where I've seen and been here all week, so it's been great to sit out there and watch. And, it's been very tight. This whole kind of Tokyo Olympic cycle, there's not a standout sculler in the field, and anyone can kind of win it, which is quite exciting. And I think that's probably where they're at the moment is, some of those guys will develop and 1 or 2 of them will probably become dominant. But at the moment, everyone's still, no one has found that way to dominate the field yet.
Any of you guys? Olli Zeidler, the German sculler, 2019 world champion, won the semi-final here up against Melvin Tweller, who's a lot of people's favourites to take gold.
He's a big lad. I've like, you know, like, right, Ollie, how's it going? You know, so it's like, I mean, it does feel like that there is a sort of a change from whenever I last raced, in terms of, I think the rating seems to be a lot higher. And I don't know if that's just a sort of like generally a change across the board. But it does feel like, you know, sort of the way in which people are racing, the cadence or, you know, number of strokes per minute seems to be a lot higher than what it was. I liked a higher sort of cadence, but, you know, I know that like Mahe was down like 32, 33, really powering along, whereas I would then be like by 35, whereas now it looks like some of these guys are at 38, you know, going down the course the whole way. It seems like quite a bit of a marked difference. But I'm excited to see what happens with Graham Thomas today.
Oh, Graham Thomas, the British, yeah. Iztok, you're probably closer to the sport, watching more races than any of these guys. How do you read this afternoon's final?
Well, I think we have four favorites, you know, and I think it will be also two different styles, you know, short, strong, really powerful, that long stroke, which I still think it's the best thing you can do. So I think Melvin, a Greek guy, also, you mentioned GB.
Yeah.
I like their style more, you know. I think Zeidler is wasting some energy, but he's extremely fit, and we will see if he can last. I'm sure nobody has any secrets in front of the other, so I'm looking forward for the race, and I keep my finger crossed for Melvin anyway.
And just finally, are there any special preparation that you'll be going through for the race this afternoon? Any sort of psychological preparations? Music with the headphones on, or are you just going to turn up and race?
We're just here to suffer, Martin. Yes, we are, and people will see us suffer. So they will, you know, there's a couple of like choice pictures throughout the years of like us, sort of like at the end of races. It's going to be a combination of all those today. So it's for every single one of us. Nobody's going to take it easy. We all want to beat each other, and we want to, you know, savor those beers tonight from having suffered today.
Last word from Alan Campbell there. Thank you guys. It's been a real privilege being able to chat to you, and it's going to be another privilege to watch you guys racing this afternoon.
I'm not so sure.
Oh no, believe me, there are so many people looking forward to this, so many people saying who's going to win, Olaf or Iztok or Alan or Ondrej, and
What about me?
we've seen you out on the course training, Mahe.
You've won enough. You're not allowed to win this one.
Someone has to fill the field.
I'm not sure if you can see any of us through all the water going to flash up during our row.
So it's a big thank you from the whole World Run community to Olaf Tufte, Mahe Drysdale, Ondrej Synek, Iztok Cop, Lassi Karonen and Alan Campbell. From me, Martin Cross, thank you and goodbye. Synek, smile on his face, he's really burning now as they come up towards the finish.
He lets him up.
Right, and
they let him win.
They let him win. Sporting gesture from Olaf Tufte there. This top shot was easy enough, I think.